My daughter recently passed. She was 47. She left a 15-year-old behind. Spiritually, I understand everything, but my heart is broken. Do you have any advice how to move forward for me?
예. 우리한테는 항상 신께서
God always gives us an assignment.
숙제를 주는 거는
The reason why is so that our souls can develop.
동물은
God doesn't allow animals such as dogs, pigs, and horses to study like that. Grand nature teaches gods with the physical body here on earth.
우리한테 주어지는 이 환경이
The environment given to us is for us to learn the lessons.
그걸 환경을 주는 걸 고생하다
God didn't give us obstacles in life for us to struggle and just die for no good reason.
나의 그 안에 공부가
Rather, He gave us such conditions because we need to learn from those situations.
하나님을 잘 앞으로는 알아야
We have to understand God correctly in the future.
왜 우리하고 연결성
What kind of connections do we have with God?
어떠한 환경
And why does He put us in environments where we suffer, face difficulties, laugh, or have good time?
요 안의 환경 속에서
These conditions were given to us to learn specific lessons,
공부를 잘못해가지고
but we were not taught the correct principle of learning. And so we are still misunderstanding as if God gave us difficulties or bad conditions. So we didn't learn the lessons.
내한테 나쁜
Grand nature never gives us even 0.1 millimeter of unfortunate circumstances.
모든 환경은
Every situation that we experience takes place to help us.
이 도움이 어떻게
So how is it helpful?
환경 속에서 내가
Such an environment was given to you to learn how to discern and handle such a situation.
공부를 안 하고 이 나쁘다고
If you don't study it and you consider it as an evil, then you cannot learn anything from then on
급을 했기 때문에
because you dealt with it incorrectly.
내가 노력을 해보려고 그러고
If you analyze the situation and research about it and make an effort to find the solution,
이런 거를 하니까
then God will praise you for your effort and give you another situation in which your difficulties will disappear.
이런 활동을 하는데
This is how it works. But we have not understood God correctly.
빌면 들어준다
People think that God will solve their problems if they pray by believing in Him. No, He will not.
처음에는 몇번
God listened to your prayers initially because you put genuine effort into it.
노력을 하려고 하니까 도와줄 때는 몇 분 있습니다.
However, after receiving God's help a few times, people got used to receiving support and as such, continued to ask for His assistance and didn't make any efforts at all. Then God will begin to scold you for this.
하나님의 섭리를
Therefore, you need to know how God works.
진짜 하나님과 우리가
You must understand what connection you really have with God,
내를
what He is providing to you, and how He is teaching you.
잘 알아야 되는 거예요. 그러니까 이제 그런 걸 바르게
But no one has taught you this principle correctly until now.
생활 속에
Enlightenment in your life. Enlightenment or the right way in daily life.
2차 대전 이후로
Post-World War II is an era where you need to practice the right way of living in daily life.
이전에는
Before World War II, it was an age of developing knowledge, and after World War II, it began an era of accomplishing the right way of life or righteous living.
이 소리를 어떻게 내가
Let me give you an example to help you understand this.
2차 대전
How much did humanity develop when the First and Second World Wars erupted?
성장을 했을 때냐? 인간이 출현하고
It was a time when human development reached 30% of completion after human form appeared on earth.
육신에 들어와서
That is, the gods entered the human bodies and developed themselves 30% by being active for tens of thousands of years.
성장을 했을 때다. 성장.
Development.
이제 인류가 30%
Then what happened when humanity developed to 30%? All kinds of logic unfolded, and everyone claimed that theirs was the right philosophy.
이것을 정리를
So there was a time period when these were reorganized at 30% development under the 3-2-7 rule.
30% 되고 나니까 이걸 전부 다
In other words, when humanity accomplished 30% of their development,
너무 강한
unsuitable or too extreme logic had been cleaned up.
사람들 숫자도
The number of people that were growing unchecked had to be adjusted to match the law of 327.
인류가 그 당시
So at that time, when the world population grew to 3 billion, grand nature got rid of many people to keep the world population at 3 billion people.
이게 하느님이 하시는 거예요.
That was the work of God.
인류의 30억.
3 billion people in the world.
2차 대전이 끝나고
There probably is data about the world population at the end of the Second World War.
30억
At the end of World War II, grand nature adjusted the world population at 3 billion people. Many people died by the end of the Second World War.
그 뒤로 태어난
The generation born after the war is known as baby boomers.
이때 영은
Koreans use this same terminology.
이걸 2차 대전
People born after the Second World War are called the baby boomers.
서양에 와 보니까
When I came to the West, I realized that there was a difference between the Western version of baby boomers and the Korean version of baby boomers.
계산 잘못했는 거예요.
The Western calculation for the baby boom generation is incorrect.
그게 누구
So then, who are the Korean baby boomers? According to the East Asian calculation, those born after the year of the dragon are baby boomers. They are now 69 years old, born in 1952 in the Korean age, because the Lunar New Year just passed. The people who were born after the year of the dragon are baby boomers, and they are also called the post-war first generation. The end of the Korean War is the true end of the Second World War. In the West, however, the end of the war was considered earlier, so the post-war generation began earlier as well. However, the true end of World War II in the global community was the end of the Korean War.
그게 2차 대전
World War II ended when the Korean War ended,
된 것이 그때부터
and the people born from then on are known as the real baby boomers.
지금 나이가
Those born in the year of the dragon are now 69 years old.
요 밑으로 해서
Baby boomers born in 1952 and afterward are known as Hongikingan.
이렇게 이야기해요.
Hongikingan means enlightened intellectuals born to benefit humanity widely. People born from that point on are Hongikingan.
있었던 우리 선배님들
Grand nature cleaned up the world population by adjusting it to 3 billion people and 30 million people in Korea. So Korea's first president addressed Koreans after the Korean War in a speech, 30 million Koreans. The ratio of Koreans to the world population is 1 to 100. 30 million people in Korea and 3 billion people in the world. It was a pruning operation. To further help you understand this, let us compare the world to an old tree. Grand nature adjusted the world population through the war as if pruning an old tree. A nice little tree.
아, 땅에 나무 고목나무는
So what does this old tree look like?
뿌리가 있고
Imagine this tree with a root, trunk, and branches.
이 가지는
What do the
어디다
branches
서양을
represent?
가지라고
It represents the West.
서양이
The Western countries are the branches of this tree.
가지 부분이다. 여기서
The
활동하는
activity of the branches is different from the activity of the trunk.
그럼 나무가 이
Likewise, the root also has a different role.
3등분으로 돼가 있는
The tree is divided into 3 parts. Humanity is also divided into 3 parts.
이 3등분에서
Among these 3 parts, the root's function is different from that of the trunk and the branches, and so their method of practice is also different from each other.
뿌리 수행이 틀리고
The ascetic practice of people in the root, their method of study, and their evolution process are different from the development and evolutionary process of the trunk and branches.
틀린다. 그래서
So once the East and the West have grown to 70% development, then it is time to combine,
융합해야 돼. 융합.
create
이제는
a
융합을
fusion.
하지 않으면 다
Our lives will become harder if we do not combine. Both the East and the West have to combine and try to solve our problems together. We will all suffer if we continue to insist that each of us is right. Then the Third World War could start, which will destroy humanity. It will be a disaster. What should we do now to prevent this from happening? It is time for us to find the answer.